Hi, my name is Izzie, and today I will be showing you a basic tutorial on how to use the character sheet on DND Beyond for your D&D game. So I will be using my elf fighter here, her name is Avery Snow, as an example. So first, before we begin, if you are viewing the character sheet from a desktop or a laptop, you will find that there are 4 different presentations of the character sheet, depending on how big your window is. So this is how it normally looks like on a standard Chrome window, and if you make it smaller, the format will change. So there's this presentation, there's this one is the second one, the third, and the fourth, as you can see. So the bigger the window is, the more information you can see in a glance. The smaller, the lesser. So it really depends on your preference. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'll be using the second presentation, which is this one. So let's start with ability scores and modifiers. If you see over here, the boxes over here, these are your character's ability scores and their respective modifiers. So depending on how you created your character sheet, the numbers could be in opposite places. So the ones that are like the whole numbers are the ability scores, and the modifiers are the ones with the plus and the minus in front. So you have strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. It's the 6 basic ability scores, abilities I mean. And if you click on each of them, you'll see you can actually read more about that ability when you click on the icon or the score itself. So if you click the number here, like, you'll see the actual thing. If you click on the modifier number, it will allow you to make an ability check. So for example, when the GM asks you to make a strength check, you could click this number, the modifier itself, and the game will actually roll for you the check, and it will put it up here that it's a strength check, which you rolled a 10, and adding on your bonus, which is a +2. For example, if your GM says to roll an intelligence check, so it will, same thing, you click on it, you roll a d20, and it will show your intelligence check here. Alternatively, you can use traditional method and roll your own dice. So there's this button here, and here actually reveals the standard set of dice that you need to play D&D with. So you have the D20 here, the D12, D10, D100, D8, D6, D4. So you could just roll the D20 like that to roll, and then manually just add the bonus over here. So it's really up to you which one you prefer. And then we move on to on the right, which is the proficiency bonus. So this bonus can only be used on ability checks, saving throws, and attack rolls. And when you click on it, it will give you a very detailed explanation about what proficiency bonus is. I'm not going to read this to you. You should know what it means. That's it. Next to the proficiency bonus, you'll find the walking speed. So this is your character's speed, which is the distance in feet that they can walk in one round. You will have to use the rounds in combats. You don't use rounds when you are, exploring the world. So this only kind of applies to combat situations. And this also assumes short bursts of energetic movement in the midst of a life-threatening situation. So if you're in a chase, if you're in a combat, this then applies. If you click on this icon, you will find different types of movement other than walking, and how you can calculate it if you wish to do those actions. So you can find like jumping and swimming and things like that. So it explains here, like when you're climbing or swimming, it will cost you an extra 1 foot of movement. When moving through difficult terrain, you move at half speed, etc., etc. So this kind of ruling, you can always get your DM to explain it to you if you wish to do those actions, but you have the information here for you to refer to as well. Moving on to inspiration. Okay, so this little box here is usually empty first. Is the inspiration box. So inspiration is a rule that the game master can use to reward you for playing your character in a way that is true to their personality traits. Your DM can choose to give you inspiration for a variety of reasons, and they will tell you how you can earn it in the game. You either have inspiration or you don't. You cannot stack multiple inspirations for later use. So as you can see here, this box, if you click it, it just shows you have inspiration or you don't. So when you earn an inspiration, you can click this to just kind of indicate that you have it. And this actually gives you an advantage on attack rolls, saving throws, or ability checks. Moving on to the hit points, which is over here. This is where you can see your hit points, and this is where you can record any healing or damage points taken. If your character has taken some damage, for example, Avery got 20 damage, you key in the number and then you click damage, it will deduct it for you just like that. If your character receives some healing from a cleric or from a potion, then you, for example, you receive 5 healing, you click 5, you key in the number and then you click a heal, then it will add it in for you there. If you were granted temporary hit points by somebody, then you can key it here. So you can either use the buttons, or you can, like, for example, put in like 4 and you have like 4 temporary hit points like that. When you take a short rest, which is at least an hour long in a game, you can roll hit dice to regain HP. So above here you can see the words short rest and long rest. Short rest allows you to roll hit dice to heal up. So for the fighter class, you get the hit die 1d10 plus 2. So for a level 3 character, I have 3 times in total, so I'm going to just roll once. And I can take a short rest, click confirm, and then you would have you could just also do it here and roll it. So 3 plus 2 is 5, so you heal 5. And that's how you do it. If you get to take a long rest, which is at least 8 hours long in a game, or in other words, a full night's rest, you can fully recover your HP. So if you click on the long rest here, it says here that you reset your maximum HP changes during this rest. So you take the long rest and you confirm, and you would have taken your long rest like that. Next thing you'll see below here is your initiative bonus. So this bonus applies to combat, and this just determines the order of turns for all characters involved. Your initiative bonus is basically the same as dexterity check. So if you see the number here, it's the same as your dexterity. So the DM will rank the combatants in order of highest to lowest, which is the order that they will act during each round. This initiative order remains the same every round until combat ends. So to roll initiative, click on the modifier and you will see your initiative roll here. So when the DM calls out your number, you'll just let them know what your number is and combat will start. On the right of the initiative bonus, you will find the armor class. This is your character's armor class, or AC, which represents how well your character avoids being wounded in battle. When you click on it, you will see the things that contribute to your AC, which is usually the armor that you're wearing. You will see any shields that you carry, and your dexterity modifier bonus. So this is how it's being calculated. Moving on to the next part here, which is your defenses and conditions. So your character may gain vulnerability, resistance, or immunity to certain types of damage. So if you were to receive, for example, any of these defenses, you can record them down here. So just click the customize and you choose, for example, you took a potion of fire resistance. So it's a resistance to fire. So it will be put here. If your potion has like some sort of time effect, so for example an hour, you can put it here. It will show that you are resistant to fire for 1 hour, which is really helpful so that you know how long you are resistant to fire. So like resistance means you have the damage if you take fire damage. If you have, let's say, immunity from fire, that means you take no damage. If, for example, you have vulnerability, then that's a complete opposite, because you would have to take double damage, basically. Yeah, so that's the R, I, and V for defenses. So your character may be subjected to certain conditions due to a spell, a class feature, a monster's attack, or other effect. Most conditions are impairments, but a few can be advantageous. So if you click on it, you'll find all of the different conditions here. For example, if you were to be invisible, you can click on this option and it would show that you are invisible. So you can actually click on the drop down bar here to actually read what it says, and it's really helpful whenever you get a condition so that you know what you can and what you cannot do and what you have to do to get out of that condition. Your exhaustion level is also here as well. So now we move on to right here. These are the ability modifiers for saving throws, which are situations when you have to resist a spell, a trap, a poison, a disease, or some similar threat. You don't normally decide to make a saving throw. Your DM will tell you to make one because your character is at risk of harm. So to make a saving throw, you just have to click on the ability modifiers. So for example, you are swimming underwater and you've been swimming for quite some time and you are at risk of drowning. So your DM will have to get you to roll a Constitution saving throw. So you have to do that and roll a Constitution save, and this is the number that you have. And this number will have to go against what the DM has set as the DC to succeed or fail. So some racial traits that you might have can give you advantage on your saving throws. So for example, for being an elf character, I have advantage against being charmed. So when I have to like make a wisdom saving throw for somebody who has cast maybe charm person on me, I can roll an extra dice and take the better score. So you would have to do twice, like so. So if it's advantage, you take the bigger number. So moving on to the next portion here is the senses. These are your passives, which are ability checks that doesn't involve any die rolls. Your DM may secretly determine whether you can succeed at something without rolling dice, like noticing a hidden monster. And when you click on this, you can actually find out more about the different types of special senses below here. For example, the most common one that a lot of adventurers have is dark vision. Yeah, so you can go ahead, read this on your own time so that you are familiar with it. Under senses, you have your proficiencies and languages. When you use something from this list of things, you're actually given an additional bonus. That is your proficiency bonus, like we mentioned earlier. So technically you have proficiency in these items and languages. When you click on this box here, it actually shows that you are able to actually include more items in your proficiency. So this depends on how you level up, or maybe in the game you show that you are practicing in a certain tool or weapon, things like that. So you can actually add another one, or maybe you can learn a new language and you can choose a language that you have, things like that. Beside this column, you have this huge column, which is the skills columns. So all the skills that are under the individual umbrellas of the 6 big abilities above here are listed in this column in alphabetical order. This list also shows what you are proficient in, what you have advantage or disadvantage on, and the total bonus you have for each skill. So the bonus that you see here is actually your proficiency plus all other bonuses from your race, class, or items. So if you were to see, for example, Avery Stick's acrobatics skill, she has proficiency in it. So it's basically a +3, and the proficiency becomes +5. And for example, she actually has for a stealth check, she has an advantage, so I get to roll twice with the bonus of +3. So this actually helps. So if you would need to roll, for example, a deception check, you can click the modifier here. So to roll, just click on the clickable modifiers. So beside the skills, you'll find this big box. It has all the extra stuff that comes with the characters. So the first thing you'll see is the actions, where they actually group it into actions, bonus actions, reactions, and others. So under actions, you'll see that they put here action attacks per action is 1. That's the most common one. You only have 1 attack per round per turn, per action. Yeah, 1 attack. So for example, here it will show you what you are able to do. So for Avery, I did not equip any weapons on her. So to do that, we have to go to inventory and choose one of her weapons. So for example, I have my shield on, so I can't put on a long bow. So I would have to, let's put on a trident, for example. Click on the box here, it would show that it's marked. If you go back to actions, it would be shown here. It would show the range, the hit, DC and the damage. So when you would like to attack to roll, you click this button here. Oh wow, there's a natural one. If you get a natural one, please tell your DM that you had a natural one. But let's do another one. So for example, I rolled a 3. I have a +4 bonus to hit. So this number you have to tell the DM that, oh, it's a 7 to hit. The DM will decide whether your attack hit or not. If it hits, then you can roll damage. So just click this one. And it will show you how much damage you have made using that weapon. So that's usually how weapons work. For this one is pretty straightforward. In an action also, you can see the types of things that you can do. For an action during a turn, clicking on the word, it will actually explain to you what it actually means. So it's really helpful before you actually decide on what you want to do, without wasting the DM and your other players' time to clarify what you can or cannot do. In your turn, other than an attack, you also have a bonus action. Depending on your class and what level you are or what feat you have, different characters have different bonus actions. So these are the kinds of reactions that you are able to take as a reaction. So reactions or turns are actions that you can take out of your turn but within a round. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then you can find the other stuff over here. For a fighter, she doesn't have any spells. She only has 1 cantrip. But basically, when you have spells, you have spell slots, and when you actually cast a spell during the game, it would actually mark off the spell slot accordingly. Moving on to the next one, we have your inventory. So this is where you can see your equipment, your backpack, things that you're attuned to, and other possessions. So this is where you see your stuff in your bag, I guess. I see equipment as like things you put outside, like your utility belt or something, things that you wear and things that you actually have it ready to go. And then your backpack is actually your backpack with things inside. Yeah, so for attunement, you can put your items to be attuned here. So you can choose the items here, and then it would show what you're attuned to. Other possessions, you can also put in whatever you find in a dungeon or whatever you have attained in your adventures that are just random things that can't be found in D&D Beyond. So if you would want to add anything in, you can just click manage inventory, add items right over here. You can filter it, whatever. So maybe you want to put in a potion of healing. So you have a potion of healing, you can put add and where you would put it in. And then the next parts are just more for your information. It would help for you to read this. So you will find out your fighter features here, racial traits as an elf, what you can do, what things that would help you in your adventure. So it would be great if you can read this before your game or during your game to make sure that you're maximizing your adventures. In description, that's where you will find your background, your character's background with the one that you chose, your characteristics, your alignment, and how they look like, and your personality traits. And then after that is your notes, where you have your backstory or whatever that concerns your characters. So that's it. That's the basic tutorial of D&D Beyond. Happy gaming!